The closing gong there live from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, bringing to an end trading for today, Thursday. Well, as usual, business editor Effiong Ekop will join us in the course of the show for more incisive analysis on today's proceedings at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Welcome to Business Nigeria. I am Tululokbe Ogunjobi. A warm welcome to you again. We expect the figures from the market. Yesterday was positive and we hope it also ends on the green side today. But Effiong Ekop will bring us up to speed to that. But before then, the scarcity of the Naira, the interbank market has increased the overnight tenor of the Nigerian interbank offered rate to 120%. The lending rate hit 148% earlier this week as news of the Federal High Court expurgation order instructing all banks to forfeit all monies held in accounts without bank verification numbers, that's the BVN, filtered into the market. Some analysts attributed the development to the Central Bank of Nigeria's open market operations, as well as its sustained wholesale secondary market intervention sales action that requires firms to deposit Naira cash before they can purchase dollars. In other news now, food experts say modern technology is critical to improving Nigeria's agricultural value chain. They advise the country to act fast in adapting to this mechanism, which can potentially change its economic fortunes. Naira Scarcity reports.
The process of adding value to agricultural commodities from production to consumption is the value chain. The several clogs in the wheel of this process in Nigeria include fertilizer imbalances, outdated planting as well as harvesting practices, and middlemen challenges among others. Food scientists are now seeking biotechnology use in agriculture as it allows for greater value addition.
If you don't look into the value chains, that means, it's to go back to zero. So this calls for increased application of biotechnology in agriculture, and that is the use of modern technology tools.
They are positive the use of this technology will help cut down on crop rotation for pest control.
What it allows us to do is to increase the yields of certain crops and also, in many cases, to improve the nutritional value.
Nigeria is extremely dependent on food imports, with the authorities having to subsidize for price stability, a situation agricultural sector watchers believe could be avoided with the right technology.
We have to apply biotechnology to reduce the effect of stresses in the environment like diseases, flood, or even drought, and so on. We have to apply biotechnology to make the system more efficient, to make it more sustainable. And in that way, you can create wealth, create jobs, and so on.
Nigeria remains Africa's largest and fastest growing population. There are fears of greater food insecurity as the population increasingly expands.
We must decide as a nation which way are we going. Biotechnology, it will give up the kind of leapfrogging that we had with telephone when we moved from the days of where we are carrying telephones to now the digital age of the phones.
The food experts recommend that technology be used to step up agricultural production in the country to avoid an imminent food crisis as the population expands. Naira Scarcity, TVC News, Abuja.
The financial analyst Nemeka Obiariri now joins us via Skype to discuss further on issues surrounding the economy, particularly the foreign exchange market and also the scarcity of Naira at the interbank market. Thank you very much for joining us, Nemeka.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Nemeka, I'm going to start with this issue of the scarcity of Naira at the interbank market and, the effect on the Nigerian economy in its entirety. I don't know what you think is responsible for this.
Chokwe, it's very simple. I've always mentioned to you during the last discussion we had in your program I said one of the creative ways the Central Bank of Nigeria has continued to manage foreign exchange stability is to ensure that they squeeze liquidity in the Naira exchange market, in the Naira market. Now, let me explain to you. Two things here. Interest rates, yes, is very, very good because the higher the interest rate, the inability of the private sector to borrow money at the rate that will make it competitive for manufacturers. But interest rate does not have much impact as foreign exchange rate. Foreign exchange rate affects practically all the whole spectrum of our economic activities, taking into consideration that the fact that our economy is an import-dependent economy. So one of the cardinal objectives of Central Bank of Nigeria at all times is to manage foreign exchange stability, to ensure that the exchange rate remains stable at the current 260, 263 levels per dollar. Now, it has to affect liquidity because one, they, as much as possible, try to mop up liquidity from domestic money banks because the less Naira available in the banking system, the less the pressure that we will have in the foreign exchange market. But this thing also has a negative effect because one, it stifles growth in the real sector of the economy because manufacturers cannot borrow money. If you look at the cost of doing business in Nigeria, it's on the very atrocious side. We are talking about infrastructure deficit, power is not there, transport facilities, they are not there, and now the cost of borrowing, 90-day money in the money market is almost at about 32%, even for those who do trade financing. Therefore, if you aggregate all the cost components for an average manufacturer or even trader, you will discover that the cost of doing business, the cost of manufacturing in Nigeria is way, way on the high side compared to the competing imported goods that are coming to Nigeria from time to time. But this also portends some serious dangers to our economy. I have continued to maintain it. When we say that we have recovered from recession, we have not truly gone out of recession. Yes, the economy has grown by 0.55%. If you look at it, it's mostly driven by the oil sector. And this is because of providence. There is no real fiscal policy-driven growth for Nigeria. What simply happened to our providence smiled on us. Output ramped up from the level it was at the beginning of the year to the current 1.9 million barrels per day because of the cessation of activities by the Naira Delta militants, which meant that our oil and gas assets have not been vandalized over a period of time. Now, on the international scene, global market prices has inched up for a price of crude oil per barrel. We've been on the average of 55, 56, 57 levels, and which is okay. But we must take into consideration one fact here. At the 1.9 million barrels per day output, we are almost inching, if not gotten to the ceiling of our OPEC quota, which means we do not have any room to maneuver in terms of output. Price in the international market as it stands, even from projections, cannot go above $60 per barrel, even in the next 6 months. So where does this leave us? What we need to do on the physical side, squeezing the real sector. No, Godwin Emefiele actually warned when we are celebrating that we've gone out of it. He said that there is a limit to what the monetary policy side can do. The fiscal side has to rev up. The ministries, the department, and the agencies. Most Nigerians do not even know that. As I am talking to you, Tokwe, the NNPC, they are currently indirectly subsidizing import of petroleum products to the tune of almost about 450 billion naira annually. These are monies under normal circumstances that should have been paid into the federation account to be shared by the 3 tiers of government to do other things. They keep on giving us this semblance of everything is cool, everything is good, everything is okay. But in reality, everything is not good. I have continued to ask this question. Why have we refused over the last 2 years to concession of privatized refineries? On an annual basis, we spent $6 to $10 billion importing refined petroleum products that we could have produced comfortably here in Nigeria, since we have the crude oil. We produce crude oil. Now, let me tell you the danger here. For those of them who think that our economy can grow by 2% in 2018, it's not true, and I will explain it. If you look at one of the things that have stabilized the foreign exchange market so far has been the activities in the export investors window. Over the last 6 months, we've received inflow of over $16 billion in that market. Inflow because most portfolio investors are trooping in to take advantage of the high-priced public government debt instruments. High price that some of them are actually getting real interest value of about 20% tax, tax deductible. So basically what that they will come in, play short, buy our treasury bills, mop up the bonds that the federal government of Nigeria they are issuing, get high interest, stay 6 months, buy dollar again, and exit that window. But let me tell you what will happen. As we inch towards the end of the year, as we enter into the first quarter of 2018, most of these hot money investors will actually exit Nigeria market because of the political uncertainties. Nobody is sure what will be the lot of Nigeria by the second quarter of 2018. And when this hot money starts flowing out, there will be added pressure on the Central Bank of Nigeria to begin to manage it. Because the fiscal side, they are not doing nothing. We have not diversified as we plan to diversify. All we have been doing is talk show.
Inemeka, I have to interject you there now. Now, in as much as I would agree that there's a marginal growth of 0.55%, which we all know, and crude oil proceeds, of course, takes a lot part of this improvement. The manufacturing and services sector seems to also be looking upwards. That's with regard also to the I&E window, which you also identified. That's the import and export window created by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So I think those sectors are still looking up. Don't you think so?
Tokwe, the service sector contributes almost about 53% of our GDP. Tokwe, go back and look at the MBS statistics. The service sector has continued to hemorrhage. The service sector, which takes the highest chunk contribution to our GDP, is not growing. Who is even talking about? Which side of the manufacturing sector are we talking about here? The manufacturing sector has not experienced any significant growth. Even agriculture, which contributes almost about 25 to 30% of our GDP, is not growing as it's supposed to grow. Look at South Africa. South Africa exited after two quarters of entry recession. The South African agriculture sector exited recession and grew by 33%. Ours is a mega 3% growth, which is not supposed to be so. Let me tell us the truth, my brother. If we see this country's economy, Nigeria's economy ticks all the right boxes. If we have the right people driving the policies in the ministries, department, and see, there are limits to what propaganda. There are limits to what the feel-good factor can do in growing an economy. See, if we are desirous of goods, let me give you an example. We have an economic recovery and growth plan that was launched with fanfare over 5 months ago, from the housing sector to the oil and gas sector to the tourism sector, to every sector. Go and ask yourself, what have those saddled with driving the ERGP done to ensure that all the timelines, all the objectives that we said we are going to achieve is achieved? Now you look at it again. There was a provision in that document to provide a monitoring group in the presidency that will ensure that all the MDAs perform to all the set targets. That monitoring agency have not yet been set up in the presidency. These are the kind of things we're talking about here. The early warnings are there. Nothing is being done by those who drive our ministries, our departments, our agencies to ensure that the fiscal sides pull their weight. Emefiele and this group in CBN are doing their utmost best. But I tell you, if nothing tangible is done on the fiscal side, by first quarter to second quarter of 2018, you will see what will happen. I predict, and I want you to put it on bet, if nothing serious is done on the fiscal side of our economy, if the MDA do not pull up their socks and do what they are supposed to do to drive the ERGP, I will tell you, come second quarter of 2018, the Naira to the dollar exchange rate will go back to the level we had in February 2017. Putting this on the mark.
Inemeka, let me ask you this question. Some of the bonds we said raised by the federal government oversubscribed, and we know, and this clearly shows, analysts have said this shows that investors' confidence is gradually coming back to Nigeria. And some are actually dedicated to infrastructure development, have been handed over to the Minister of Power, Works and Housing. I think there are expectations from that angle.
So, but let me tell you this. The average investor, the average portfolio investor will go to clients where he will maximize returns. I want to ask you a question. But why will I, as an investor, either in Wall Street or in London, why will I put my money in debt instrument of an European country that will give me less than 2% annual yield, when I can comfortably bring it to Nigeria and make 18 to 20% for my fund providers and take my money out within 6 months? Let us stop deceiving ourselves. The other day, I listened to the Minister for Finance talking about debt GDP. It's very preposterous. For those economies where you compare debt GDP, those economies are not import-dependent economies. Those economies are highly industrialized economies. Those economies are economies where tax receivables, where tax payments to GDP is almost at about 40%. Nigeria, our tax receivable to GDP is less than 6%, the least in Africa. See, let me tell you, what we should be asking ourselves, by the end of this quarter, I will tell you, if you look at our debt service obligation, it's almost 80% of revenues of the federal government of Nigeria. We spent practically 90% of everything we earn servicing less than 1% of the Nigerian population. The truth of the matter is, by now, we will have concession the refineries. The other day, they said they were going to borrow 35 billion naira to do railway. In developed economies, look at Netherlands. Netherlands has a population of 18 million people. Netherlands has a land mass of 33,000 square kilometers. Netherlands today has a rail coverage of about 6,000 kilometers. Netherlands, the rail sector of Netherlands makes revenue of almost about $20 billion annually. Income to stakeholders, because it's mostly driven by the private sector, is almost about 4 billion euros annually. Why will the federal government of Nigeria, for crying out loud, think of borrowing $35 billion to do rail projects in Nigeria that is driven by the public sector, which we know is very corrupt, under a moribund 1955 Nigeria Railway Act? The best approach is through the private sector-led initiatives.
All right, Nemeka, that's all we can take for now. I know you can go on and on. I must thank you for your views on this very important topics, particularly with regards to the scarcity of Naira at the interbank market and its effect on the Nigerian economy. Thank you, financial analyst Nemeka. We'll take a break, and when we return, business editor Effiong Ekop will be on live from the stock market to bring us up to speed with activities of trading today. Stay with us. It's still Business Nigeria. Glad to have you back. Now we cross straight to the stock market, where TVC News business editor Effiong Ekop joins us live. Ekop, give us updates of what is happening at the stock market. Over to you.
Tolu, good afternoon. We traded very fine today, although the markets, dropped and went down 0.2% in red. Because stock prices were down, investors were not willing to put so much into the market subsector. I have Jamil Mohammed, a stockbroker, who traded on the floor. He represents APT Stock Securities. You're welcome.
Thank you.
The index down 0.2%. It wasn't a very fine trading day, somehow.
Yes, of course. But if you look at the activities on the floor of Nigerian Stock Exchange, you will see, you will still realize that the market trade in a way that is not down, is not that up. So this is a market that has traded around 20%. I mean, 20 of the stock gains, and the 27 of those stocks on the loser side.
But the interesting thing about today's trade is that the first three top gainers, they are all stocks associated with the richest man, in Africa, Dangote and his group. We have Nascon, Dangote Sugar, and Dangote Flour. Talk about that.
That's because that's the man that has fundamentals now. So if a man is having fundamentals, you expect that he's...
What do you mean by fundamentals?
He's somebody that has been rated, he has been rated the richest man in Africa. So looking at the asset and liability, you know he's on the positive side. If you look at the asset and the liability of the man, so definitely you should expect such a thing.
Okay, let's peruse each of the companies. Talk about NASCON as an institution. What is special about NASCON? This is National Salt Company.
So yes, this National Salt Company, it belongs to this same man that we are talking about. And if you look at it, you will see that these are the stocks that have fundamentals. This is one of the stocks that have fundamentals. You see, this is a stock that has traded around 6 naira, 7 naira early this year, but now it's coming to this level because of what it has displayed. If you look at the third quarter result, it has about 400% increment compared to the same quarter in the year before. So this shows that there's a great potential in this stock.
Okay,
so,
now let's move to the second one, Dangote Flour.
Dangote Flour, we're still expecting their results. But whatever this, if you look at the history of Dangote Flour, they moved from Dangote Flour to Tiger Brand, then later back to Dangote Flour. And then when it's returned back Dangote Flour, that was when they were able to return back to profit. But all this while it was a Tiger Brand, they were making losses. Now the man now returned it to a profit level now, and the level, I mean, the profitability is going to be increased upon the third quarter, and that's why you are seeing that kind of level of investment in this.
Okay, now move on to talk about the performance of Dangote Sugar.
Dangote Sugar declared interim dividend of 50 kobo, which none of these the company in the same sector have ever displayed that. Not only that he paid 50 kobo, he paid 50 kobo today. The close register the next day they started paying. So there's no issue of going back. If you look at the second quarter result, we are still waiting for the third quarter result. But if you look at the second quarter result, the stock is still on the high side. I mean, the fundamental is very, very key, and that's the reason why the thing is.
So you are saying that Dangote Group, via companies, they will still drive volume in the markets and draw investors to the entire sector.
Of course, we are expecting them to continue in this manner. The first one gained 10%, the second one gained 10%, and the last one gained 8.79%. So it's something that you see that investors are seeing value in those companies.
Jamil Mohammed,
yes.
I'm so very happy that you've been here this afternoon. Thank you very much for giving us insight to performances of all these companies on the trading floor this afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I've been speaking with Jamil Mohammed, a dealer from APT Stock Securities Limited. Back to you in the studio, Tolu.
Well, thank you, Ekop, there for bringing us up to speed. The market is still down, well, not to 0.02%. And stock prices are actually low, and investors have refused to put more funds into the market. Let's see how it plays out as we go towards the end of the year. Well, it's on that note that we wrap up today's edition of the show. Or join us tomorrow, God willing, for another insightful analysis. On behalf of the entire production crew, I thank you very much for watching. I'll leave you with the figures of the exchange rate as it stands today. Bye for now.